The presentation for the Coursera Course project, Human Factors in Artificial Intelligence. For this project, I chose the following problem. Various service providers rely on equipment installed at the customer homes to provide their service. For example, internet provider or TV provider, they install a gateway or TV box in your house so that customers can have access to internet or watch TV. Unfortunately, when this device fails, customers lose access to the service, and they would have to call to the service provider and arrange a technician so that they can come and replace the device to restore the service. We can apply machine learning to predict failures of these devices so that service providers can proactively replace equipment at customer home, and thus we can avoid interruption of the service. There are two sides of the problem. On customer side, they would need to identify what was the issue, why they don't have access to the internet, for example. After that, they would need to contact customer support team, and often this associates with long waiting time because people need to wait more than an hour on the phone. And after that, once they schedule a technician, usually technician can come after several days. So customers are left without a TV or internet. On the company side, customer support representative should help customer to identify the problem, work him through troubleshooting steps, and after they identify that the problem is actually equipment, they can schedule a technician. And in the result, we have a frustrated customer who can switch to a different provider of the service. So, applying the machine learning model, we can proactively identify what devices are likely to fail over the next few months, for example, in the next month or two, and we can replace them proactively. In this way, we completely eliminate any work for a customer. Customer wouldn't even have a problem with the service. And for support agents, they could schedule technicians in organized manner, and we would service provider can have an assigned team who would just only reach out to customers with equipment which potentially can fail, make sure they schedule a work for them, and schedule technician visit to replace the device. From user experience for this machine learning application, the users of this application will be customer support representative team. They will need to open a web interface. It would look like similar to a standard web page, and all they need to do is choose a data range. For example, today they generate a report for devices which are likely to fail in the next months. Once they click the button to generate the report will be generated, and the list of the customers who have those devices will be presented. Agent can download that list and call to each of the customer on the list. They can arrange them by location, by region, and then they can book a meeting, book a technician to visit that customer during time when it's convenient for the customer. Technician can come to replace the device, which would take much less time than replace a failed device, and leave. At the next step, we can even change and just simply ship a device to be replaced instead of sending a technician. For different aspects for user design, so there's a minimum user inputs required. All what they need just to choose the date and for the report, and the report will be generated automatically. Application will provide the list of factors it is used to define the device as most likely to fail. For example, it can add additional information, like for example, this device is so old and it already failed several times. Maybe not. It already had minor failures several times, so most likely it will broke sometime soon. And then agent can assess those factors, and this would add credibility for the model. Also, it is possible to add that this device has information about how likely this device to fail within 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. So the agent can make informed choice which devices to replace first. In terms of the privacy, although the company would have access to a customer data, this specific application wouldn't introduce new risks because service providers already collected and manage information about their customers, such as customer address, their payment information, and so on. So all what we need to do is that those agents who would generate those reports, they would already have this access to that data, and we wouldn't introduce a new team. Or if we introduce a new team, they should go through the same clearance process and the same training as customer service agents which already work for the company. Because this service provider doesn't work with health data, specific regulations such as healthcare, education, and financial are not applicable, but we still can use overarching privacy regulations such as California Consumer Privacy Act for companies in the United States, or in Canada we can refer to the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Document Act, so-called PIPEDA. As a company, we must ensure the transparency of how the personal information is used, and we should make sure that data is protected, only used for these specific purposes. Users should be able to access the data collected, and they should be able to update and ask the company to delete the collected data. But as I already mentioned, with this new application, we don't introduce requirements for new data, and all these measures should be already implemented in place for these service providers. From ethical perspective, because we are not making decisions for humans, and in this case we just simply choose devices which are likely to fail, the potential bias is very minimal. Overall, potential source for bias can be introduction of the new type of the device, and for those new type of the device or model of the device, the model wouldn't have enough data to predict correctly when these devices are about to fail. Although in the beginning it shouldn't be a problem because devices are new and unlikely to fail, with time we can collect more data. Also, if there are some devices historically which are less represented than others, we might have the model maybe not as efficient for those specific type of the devices which are less represented in the company's portfolio. From this model will be treat all customers fairly, because we don't even take into account the information about the customer, but rather it would be based simply on the information collected from the device and from the performance of the device. In terms of accountability, we would clearly outline who is responsible for the system. For example, the customer support team is responsible to review the results of the report and book a technician to replace the device as necessary. And technicians will be responsible for visiting the customer and replacing the device. And IT team would be responsible to maintain the model and make sure it works correctly. Transparency pillar would be addressed from the perspective that machine learning model can be interpretable, and we can analyze it and come to a conclusion when we troubleshoot the model. This machine learning model would be probably a regression model, which is easily interpretable, and we can analyze why each device was recommended for replacement. And this concludes the slides for the project. Thank you for your time and enjoy your day.